Hello kids, it's me, your friendly neighborhood outraged feminist. And among the millions of injustices committed every single day, today I'm mad about the way that the media covers sexual assault. I know that not every outlet is doing it wrong, but enough of them are that I'm kind of pissed off about it. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read through a couple of headlines and I'm gonna explain why they're problematic and how you could be not problematic. Before we go any further though, allow me to reiterate what the Society of Professional Journalism defines as ethical journalism. Ethical journalism treats sources, subjects, colleagues, and members of the public as human beings deserving of respect. That seems pretty easy to understand, right? We're in for a trip. Let's think back to when Bill Cosby was convicted of sexual assault. What a glorious day. This People magazine article is titled, quote, "Bill Cosby's accusers react as he's in prison for sex assault," end quote. This is the language that we're kind of used to seeing when we see stories about sexual assault. And you may be thinking to yourself, this crazy feminist lady is angry for no reason. I also thought that at first, and then the more I looked into it, the more the pieces kind of fell into place, and I understood why it's problematic. What we fail to consider when reading this headline is how reductive it is to refer to the victims as just accusers. When you call the victims accusers, it carries an uncertainty that anything even happened in the first place, and in this case it's especially frustrating because he was convicted. They're not just accusers anymore. They're actual victims. He's convicted. He's in jail. We amplify the name of the perpetrator and therefore diminish the name of the victim. That doesn't seem fair, right? And if you don't think I'm right, there's no hope for you. If you ever have the displeasure of having to write a story about sexual assault, do the right thing. Identify them by their actual name. And if they want to remain anonymous, that's fine. There's literally dozens of other ways to identify somebody. Say something like athletes alleged sexual assault by doctor. It's that easy. Next, let's talk about Brock Turner. This time we're going to do it the right way though. If you'll recall, Brock Turner was tragically sentenced only 6 months for raping an unconscious woman at Stanford. If you'll also recall, seemingly every single news outlet across the nation misreported this story and therefore did it irresponsibly. Here's one I particularly hate from the Washington Post that reads, quote, "All American swimmer found guilty of sexually assaulting unconscious woman on Stanford campus." Not only does this headline refer to the anonymous victim as just, quote, "an unconscious woman," it also paints Brock Turner like somewhat of a martyr. To make matters worse, the entire article is written like Brock Turner was a baby-faced innocent caught in a fall from grace when his life and career were upended during a night of drinking. This article also writes that the anonymous victim, referred to as Emily Doe, had a BAC over 3 times the legal limit, making it seem like it was her fault that she was unconscious and got raped, and not Brock Turner's. I don't even know where to begin, but let's start here. I hate to break it to you, but if a person's drunk, they can't consent, and if they're unconscious, they especially can't consent, and if they were drunk when you got consent and then became unconscious afterward, that consent is revoked. It's not that hard to understand. And that's not just a lesson for somebody writing an article about sexual assault. That's a lesson as a human being that everyone should understand. It's not that hard. A story that should have been about the trial and conviction of Brock Turner is instead a fluff piece about how his life was upended and his career was destroyed because this unconscious victim had the nerve to get raped by him. How inconvenient. The reductive nature of this article, headline included, coming from a reputable news source like the Washington Post, is highly problematic. Some people called them out, sure, but other people just read the article and sided with Brock Turner and blamed the anonymous victim for being unconscious and getting assaulted. Suddenly rape is okay if you're a rich white kid with a swimming career. If you don't see why that's problematic, there's literally no hope for you. Like, just drop out. Like, leave society. So anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, and I'm gonna go stress eat some chocolate now. Bye. And members of the that seems pretty easy to I just want to do this so I can be done, so I can graduate.